If you added one former player to every NBA team, who would be the best? Whether you were the best team in the conference this year or the 15th seed, I am going into this video as your team is trying to win a championship. And who is the one player that you can add that can change that around? This does not mean they are your best player in franchise history. It is just a player that would go best on the team that to what I think would give them the best shot of winning the NBA championship. Um, there are current players, but I did not put like for the Spurs, I did not put prime Chris Paul because he's there, but I used Chris Paul for another team because his prime and for another team was there, and you could only use one player once. So a player like Shaquille O'Neal, who was great for a few different teams, is only here once. Same with Kareem, same with Kevin Durant. There are players that are here only one time. Um, so to start it off, we are going to go um, first the Atlanta Hawks. I picked with their current formation. Everyone is healthy in this world. Everyone is healthy. And rosters are how they are. So Jalen Johnson is playing. Trey Young is here. This is how your 2025 roster should be completely healthy plus this player. I picked Dikembe Mutombo. Obviously they kind of have Onyeka Okongwu and Capella there, but Okongwu's not the greatest defensive center. And when you have a guy like Trey Young, who is very easy to blow by, you need someone at the rim who can deter shots, and Dikembe is one of the greatest of all time at that. So Dikembe Mutombo is who I picked for the Atlanta Hawks. Also could be a lob threat. I didn't pick a guy like Dominique because they've got Jalen Johnson, they've got Risa Shea, they've got, I think, good enough scoring, but I think they need to up that defense a little bit. So Atlanta Hawks get Dikembe Mutombo. Next, the Boston Celtics. I think this is pretty easy. I gave them Bill Russell to hold down that defense. Obviously, our center rotation sometimes is a little unreliable, even though they're good players. Horford, Cornette, Porzingis, and I did say everyone was healthy, but the defense of Bill Russell just I think, would put the team even more over the top. So that is who I gave the Boston Celtics. Um, the Brooklyn Nets. Um, Obviously, a team not really competing, but I gave them Dr. J, just because they have, they could used a Jason Kidd or something like that for sure. But I wanted to, just give them some more scoring. Probably their best player in franchise history. Um, so I gave them Dr. J. The Hornets, I gave them Alonzo Mourning because I mean, Mark Williams, again, he's good, but I think you put in an elite center with LaMelo. You've got Brandon Miller who can be on the wing. So I was debating between like a Glenn Rice or something like that. But I think you put another big, a great center for his time down there with a team LaMelo who can be, make him a lob threat and everything like that. I think the Hornets should get Alonzo because they obviously don't need like a Kemba Walker or anything like that with LaMelo, especially if he's healthy. The Bulls, I mean, Michael Jordan. This team has 100 guards, I know, but if anyone can take a team over the top, you got to give him Michael Jordan. Not much to be said there. Of course, you could have Scottie Pippen. His defensive versatility at the wing, which is a weak spot, could have been great too. But Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. Same with this next player, Cleveland, LeBron James. Their weak spot in their team, we would say, is a small forward. You give them the most complete player of all time. I think that is the perfect fit, no debate. The Mavericks. So I gave them Dirk. Um, I can 100% see why some people would say Luca. You put Luca and Kyrie again back in the backcourt, but now you've got Anthony Davis and Derek Lively. Um, and then whoever Cooper Flag's not on this team, so don't take account to Cooper Flag. But I'm not upset about Dirk. This was one of the or I'm not upset about Luca. This was one of the hardest decisions I had to make. but I ultimately went with Dirk because that's a good 28 points a game. That's another big you can put alongside AD, and it makes your offense that much better with a guy like Dirk too. Denver, they need more shot creating. They need someone that they can go to when it's not just Jokic. Carmelo Anthony. I mean, it's like Michael Porter Jr. times 15. So much better of a player, one of the greatest players in Nuggets history. And we're going to add him to a team with Jokic, who is one of the best passers in the league currently, if not the best. Um, Detroit, they don't need an Isaiah, obviously, because they have Cade. So I was gonna give them a wing who could score. I think you know where I'm going. I gave them Grant Hill. Because again, don't need Isaiah. Um, Bill Lambier, you don't necessarily need. You got Jalen Duren, who I think is okay, good enough, but your secondary shot making other than Cade wasn't great, so that is why I ultimately went with Grant Hill. Next, the Golden State Warriors, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, you got Steph, you got Pods, I guess, you got Jimmy, Draymond, and then you throw Wilt in there. The Steph Curry finally gets a real center who's not 6'6" Draymond Green. I think that's perfect. You can't really go any better um based on what the team needs currently. Houston, if Sengun wasn't an all-star and the best player on the team, I would 100% be going with Hakeem. I still could, honestly, but when you look at how the Rockets, they need the 1A scorer, and let's say we go with one of the best scoring peaks that we have seen, especially in recent history, in prime James Harden. Um, you give James Harden, I mean, granted, he's gonna, Sengun needs the ball too. But you put the defense of Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, and then you got the spacing of Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason. Like, I think that is perfect for James Harden. Even though again, Sengun needs the ball a little bit. Amen likes to have the ball and rock out. Same with Jalen Green. But if Jalen Green's on the team, you best believe he's going to the side if James Harden's coming here. But Pacers, another team where I think their worst player is probably their small forward. Who do we go? We go Paul George. Paul George would be a prime Paul George in this team, would make this team so much more. It would make this team even more fun than they already are. More fast paced. The shot making would be great as well. Um, I did think for sure about a Reggie Miller at the two, because that 3-point shooting would be elite as well. But I think you give them another big wing defender when you talk about that their wings kind of are a little small in Neesmith, Matherin, Nemhard. You give them big 6'9" Paul George in his prime. I don't think you can do much better than that. Clippers were a hard team because a lot of their great players were recently. Other than like a Bob McAdoo and players like that, but Chris Paul we use for a different team. They don't need DeAndre Jordan. They got Zubac. Kawhi and PG are kind of already here. We just use PG, so I went with Blake Griffin. Throw him at the 4. So you got James, Norman Powell, Kawhi, Blake Griffin, and Zubac. I think he slides in nice between Kawhi and Zubac at the 4. Um, Memphis, Pau Gasol. Put a real center alongside Jaren again. And I think Pau he's just one of the Grizzlies' best players of all time. You could go Mark as well, honestly. But I ultimately ended up going Pau. The Heat. Remember, we use LeBron James. I said only once per team. So we just gave him Dwayne Wade, the greatest Heat of all time. He can play alongside Tyler Hero. Gives them, hopefully, it makes their offense look a little better. Um, they, um, and yeah, I realized I just completely skipped over a team, but the Lakers, Shaq. There, I mean, you want a lob threat, you want a dominant center to be with Luca and LeBron, prime Shaq. There you go. I mean, that is just one of the scariest trios you would have if you put prime Shaq with Luca and LeBron James. Back on track, we've got and back, I guess with the Lakers before we move on, like, right, we don't need him. I wouldn't say we need a Magic. We don't need another pass first guy. Kobe, Sword, I mean, you could obviously push AR to the bench, and then you got LeBron, but honestly, the center position is their biggest weakness right now. And who are their best centers? Kareem, who is going to be here for another team, which you'll find out. Shaq, who um, we just used. Pau Gasol, who we used already. I guess like a George Mikan. But I mean, the prime Shaq over Mikan and those other guys. When you're talking about Lakers players, Bucks, Kareem. You could go a Michael Redd. They do need some more scoring. They need some wing play, but you place in 38-year-old Brooke Lopez with MVP Kareem. Yeah, that's the scariest front court in the league. Giannis and Kareem. Timberwolves. I think Kevin Garnett goes in here nicely. Julius Randle can be a super six man if he needs, or they can push Rudy Gobert to the bench if they want to start Julius and KG at the five. But I think just adding to the defensive tenacity over there, and I mean, he still could drop a smooth 22 points per game. I think him and Anthony Edwards would love playing together. I think that, dynamic duo of confidence and trash talking would just be elite. So Kevin Garnett is going to be the Timberwolves player. Pelicans, it's rough. Not a very historic franchise, but I gave them Chris Paul. I believe, right. I always get confused with the New Orleans Hornets and then the New Orleans Pelicans, but I'm pretty sure Chris Paul was a Pelican technically. When you talk about current landscape, I think when he was there, I think he was the Hornets, but I believe he was a Pelican. So we're just going to give him Chris Paul. Throw lobs to Zion. You still got CJ McCollum. I mean, your center again, not great, but I think you can't pass up on a prime Chris Paul. The Knicks, there's a couple different ways you could go here. Obviously, we already used Melo, which I think could help their scoring, but we talk about how their interior defense wasn't great, their paint presence, Patrick Ewing. Why not? Cat can play alongside him, and I think it would work just fine putting a real center alongside a Cat again. And I mean, there are players like Walt Frazier but again, you got Jalen Brunson, who you feel very confident having the ball. And again, I think your biggest hole here was your paint, presence, and you didn't have too much of that. And Patrick Ewing can do that. OKC, Kevin Durant. You put Kevin Durant on this team, it just makes them more lethal on offense. That's a 27 point per game score minimum that you're going to get for prime KD. I thought about Gary Payton starting alongside at the two with Shea, but their defense is already one of the best of all time. Why not make their offense one of the best in the league as well? Orlando needed some shot creating, shot making, perimeter shot making. We gave him Tracy McGrady. He can slide in nice. Jalen Suggs at the one, T-Mac at the two, Franz Palo, and whoever you want at center, honestly. I was thinking of Dwight for sure, but I think the perimeter shot making in the offense needs a boost more than the defense for Orlando. Philly, this was hard because a lot of their greatest players we've used or will be using in Dr. J, Wilt Chamberlain, another player who we'll get to in the team right after this, which I think would fit perfectly, but I had to use him somewhere else. But we're gonna put Moses Malone. I know Allen Iverson. I know Allen Iverson is there, but I think you're okay with your guard play, and you get a four kind of you. I mean, Moses Malone and Embiid can play 4 and 5, and that makes your offense just as scary. Your rebounding becomes elite now. Um, but if you want to pick AI, I'm not going to hold it against you. That was one of the harder ones for sure. I feel like a lot of people are going to not like that I didn't pick AI, and that's fine. Um, I don't think that's a wrong answer. That's just Moses Malone's just who I picked. Suns, this is the other Sixer player I was talking about. Charles Barkley. The Suns have no sorts of defense, no sorts of rebounding over there. Charles Barkley, his name's the round mound of rebound. He's a good 20 and 12 type of player, good defender. I think he fits right in over there. Again, you could go Steve Nash for sure, um, because point guard play. But I think, again, when you talk about the offense, I think they can get their offense going with the point guards that they have, the guards that they have between Booker, Durant, Beal. I think Barkley sliding in there at the four, and could even play some small ball five down the stretch if you want, is perfect for what they need. Portland, another team that's far away. A lot of these teams at the bottom here are kind of far away, but we gave him Clyde Drexler. Just scoring punch. It's another guard. I know, but it was either him or Bill Walton. You've got a lot of centers. You got a lot of guards. Pick your poison. This whichever you want. Clyde Drexler, Bill Walton. I mean, you could go Dame for sure. He got you to a conference final, but Bill Walton won you a final. So who knows? Pick what you want there between those guys. The Kings, I think you put Oscar Robertson in here. This team turns pretty good. I mean, they don't really have a point guard after trading Fox. So you got Big O, you got Levine, DeRozan, Murray, and Sabonis. I mean, I like that. Their defense gets better. Their rebounding, assisting, like every Oscar Robertson obviously averaged a triple double once. I think everything gets better and uplifted with Oscar Robertson. The Spurs, Tim Duncan. No, I mean, no question. You put Tim Duncan alongside Wemby, a secondary defender, shot blocker. Again, can give you 22 plus a night, 10 boards, again, 2 block shots, one of the best winners of all time. And again, I think that four spot is, they want to fill it with Giannis this offseason. They want to fill it with Kevin Durant, whatever. Put Tim Duncan in there, one of the greatest of all time. That team becomes so scary. These last three teams were kind of hard. Toronto Raptors, you have so many wings. Obviously, it would be cool to get Vince Carter, Kawhi Leonard, something like that. DeRozan, even. I gave you Kyle Lowry. You don't really have a great. I mean, quickly, I guess, but he can go back to where he thrives the best on the bench. And Kyle Lowry can just put all that wing play together. Center play, not. I mean, Raptors don't have a very rich history either. The Jazz, I give you Karl Malone. Like it or hate it, they've got players who can pass. John Stockton's an amazing player as well, but Karl Malone alongside Walker Kessler, Lauren Markin, I think that would work pretty well. We're talking basketball here. Karl Malone's a great player. And then the Wizards, Wes Unseld. Put Alex Sarr at the four. Wes Unseld, one of the best players in Wizards history. But that's it. That is all 30 teams. That is if you added one former player to every NBA team, who would be the best and who would have the best odds. I mean, I think if you talk about the best, I mean, OKC with KD's a big time. The Spurs with Duncan, Celtics with Bill Russell, Cavs with LeBron. I mean, the Lakers with Shaq, of course. And then I honestly, a sleeper that I don't think people necessarily would think about. I think the Timberwolves with Kevin Garnett is big time too. I mean, obviously all these are big time. They're either Hall of Famers or legends for that team. But those are my scariest teams. But that's the end of this video. Make sure you guys subscribe and like if you like this kind of stuff. Finals start tomorrow or tonight, whenever you see this. and we are going to talk about it. So make sure you come back. With when you want to hear about the finals, everything like that, off season content. We're gonna do it all. So make sure this is where you want to be.